Hello, everyone, and welcome to this webinar and podcast. My name is Roshana, and it's my pleasure to introduce my very first guest, Nigel Hammond, a serial entrepreneur from Bristol who had multiple businesses before and now helping other small business owners to start their own business journey. So we're going to be talking to Nigel and discussing things around mindset lessons or business lessons and things like that. So hello and welcome, Nigel.
Yeah, hello everyone. I'm Nigel and I've been a small business owner since leaving school. I'd like to try and first of all put it into perspective so you know who I am and what I wanted to talk about. I'm not a multi-millionaire and I'm probably never going to be a multi-millionaire. And I sometimes it's very important to put that out there at the beginning, because if you're the sort of person that wants to be a multi-millionaire and drive around in a super flash car, then I'm probably not the guy that you want to be listening to. What I am is the kind of guy that's going to help a small business person be able to achieve a salary of maybe £100,000, which is a very nice salary to have, and to have a nice house, a reasonable car, and to be able to go on 2 or 3 nice holidays a year. So if that's the sort of person that you aspire to be, then I might be the kind of guy that you want to listen to, because I can help you get there. I've been self-employed since leaving school. And one thing that frustrates me when listening to other business people is that they very vaguely say, I have a 6-figure salary. That, first of all, really annoys me.
Oh, yeah.
It's so vague and it's so arrogant, and it just says, well, to me, I don't want to listen to them. What does it mean to have a 6-figure salary? I mean, it means nothing. So my salary is about 92,000, and I want to put that out there to make it clear so you know who you're talking to. I've been self-employed since leaving school. I've had a multitude of different businesses, none of which have failed, all of which have been sold or moved to other people. I started off when leaving school. I saw an opportunity to take photographs on bowling alleys and be able to produce, it was new technology at the time, this was back in 1995, take photographs of families at bowling alleys and be able to produce them little photographs of their families, and they would buy those off me for £10, £5 each. And then from there, that quickly led into doing nightclub photography, and then we had lots of nightclub photographers, just before we had mobile phones, taking photographs, doing nightclub photographs all around the country.
Wow.
And we were even out in Ibiza doing photographs in Ibiza. Simply bought a transit van and drove from Bristol to Valencia, caught a ferry over to Ibiza, and then set out taking nightclub photographs in Ibiza using the contacts that I had in the UK. From that, I set up a family photography business. And people, I'm not quite sure how to say it, it wasn't easy setting up a family photography business. I stood outside in the rain on high streets, collecting the names with a little portfolio of photographs, collecting the numbers of people that walked past who wanted to look at the photographs, who might want to get their photographs. And then I would go around to their houses, would set up a little mobile portrait studio in their living rooms, take photographs of their kids, and create a large database of families and friends of theirs and recommendations of people that wanted to come and have photographs done. And then off the back of that, opened up a family portrait studio called Epic Photography,
Wow.
which was successful from the get-go, because I had a few hundred people whose houses that I'd been to in the local area who I could call upon, who wanted to bring their families in to have photographs done in a studio rather than having them done in their living rooms. And it was a successful business. And we had staff of probably about 12 staff and thousands of people coming in every year to have their photographs done. And it was great. It came to an end a little bit in 2008 because there was a big downturn in 2008, and mums typically don't want to spend too much money on photographs when there's a bit of a sort of crunch on how much money they're getting at their end. So I sold it in 2008, and the 2 managers that were in there are now running, or were until quite recently, running it themselves. It was only last month that they actually closed it down themselves. So they had a good 6 years running it, or however long it is, 2008 to now, running it themselves. It was good for them. I also opened up a coffee shop at Temple Meads train station outside the front doors. And this was fantastic. Why did I do that? Well, when 2008 rolled in,
Mm-hmm.
I got myself into a bit of spot of bother in my head because no one was spending money. I had 12 staff to pay, lots of bills coming in. So I sold it to two of the managers and I had a few £1,000s and I decided to go out and buy a burger wagon. I don't know why I bought a burger wagon, but I went and bought a burger wagon and started to do events. So I went around to lots of music events and sold food, and then managed to get myself a pitch outside Temple Meads train station, and it was amazing again because all the taxi drivers need coffees, need sandwiches, and everyone who's coming in and out would come over and buy a coffee. So we did really well at Temple Meads train station, and also at Temple Meads train station we started a flower business. And we also started a little hot dog business at the train station, and it was, it was really good. And then what happened was with that is that Temple Meads, whoever had the franchise at the time, it was either Network Rail, lost the franchise to First Great Western, or the other way around. And whoever the new franchisee was at Temple Meads train station, they decided they didn't really want a burger wagon outside their Grade 1 listed building. So we got given our marching orders and we were told to take our burger wagon and take it somewhere else. So I was a bit stuck again, didn't really quite know what to do. But there was a little coffee shop on the Bristol harbour side.
Mm-hmm.
And I happened to be living on a fishing trawler in the harbour with my family. Mm-hmm. And the coffee shop wasn't for sale. But I went up to the guy and I said, look, I want to buy your coffee shop. And he said, well, it's not for sale, mate. Do you see a for sale sign? And I said, no, you don't. But still, I want to buy it. So he said, well, it's not for sale. But after a little bit of discussion and what have you, he managed to come up with a price that he was happy with. And he sold his coffee shop to me and my business partner, Raymond. And then me and Raymond ran a coffee shop. And it was #1 on TripAdvisor for probably 6 months out of over 1,000 coffee shops in Bristol. We were #1.
How did you do that?
Well, we did that because it was about realizing that people don't come to a coffee shop necessarily to buy a coffee. They come to a coffee shop for so much more than the coffee. True. Coffee is like a bit of an afterthought. It's something you take away with you. But when you go into the coffee shop, you want to talk and you want to have experiences in the coffee shop. So this also ties in with the photography. We didn't make the world's best coffee to become the #1 on TripAdvisor. What we did was we gave people an experience when they came into the coffee shop. Mm-hmm. Talk they wanted, so we had lots of good things in our coffee shop. So for example, with the loyalty card, every time you wanted to get a stamp on your loyalty card, you didn't just have to buy a coffee, you had to do something to add to the coffee experience. So people would I'd say come behind the counter and make a coffee for somebody else.
Oh wow.
Yeah? Or I would teach you how to make a coffee, or leave some money in the coffee shop and then we can buy a coffee for a homeless person or something like that. Or we had a spin the wheel off the Game of Life, and if they chose the number on the spin the wheel, then their coffee was free. So there's a lot of things that the people would come in, and each coffee, I had a book called, it had lots of little quotes in it, and factoids and things like that. So every time someone bought a coffee, they got a little factoid with their coffee, and then they would take it back to the office and say, hey, did you know whatever the factoid was? And then also we had, I bought literally thousands of little mini trolls that you stick on the top of pencils. So you have a pencil and you stick a little troll on the top with a funny hairdo.
Oh yeah.
I bought 1,000 of those, and when people came in and bought a coffee, I'd give them their own little troll, and on the troll's foot was a little label, and then they would name their troll, and then I would copy the name of their troll down on a spreadsheet with the customer's name, and on the label it said, this troll is lost. He's come from the Crep and Coffee cabin, and he needs to make his way back to the Crep and Coffee cabin. So they would hide their troll on the way to work on the little lamppost or on a brick wall or wherever, and then people would find the troll and bring the troll back to the coffee shop. And then I would be able to text them and say, hey, look, I found your troll's been returned. Yeah, come and get a free coffee. Yeah. Or people would take their little trolls on holiday with them, and then they would get posted back from far-flung places like China and stuff. These little trolls would come back to us, and people would get people talking. And this is why people would come into the coffee shop, because they could also choose their own music. I'd say, what music do you want to listen to when you come to have your coffee? Mm-hmm. So they would have the Google thing and just play whatever music they want. But the really unique thing about the coffee shop was this thing whereby, so if someone became a regular, I would slip them a little piece of paper with their change, inviting them to join the secret coffee society, which meant that when they came into the coffee shop and there was a queue, there was a couple of ways that they could do it. They could pull their ear twice and scratch their nose, And that was a signal to me that they were part of the, I knew that they were part of the secret coffee society, but then I would make their coffee because I knew what their coffee was before everyone else in the queue. And obviously this would kind of upset people a little bit, but that also added to the experience. Why is he being served before me? He's at the back of the queue. I said, I really can't tell you, I'm sorry. But then, give a little wink to the guy, I'm handing his coffee, and off he goes. Like, and he's smiling and I'm smiling. He's telling everyone at work about this coffee shop where you can do this. But they would come and say, can I join the secret? I say, what secret coffee society? There's no secret coffee society. Yeah. So it really added to it. And we were number 1 on TripAdvisor. I think we're probably number 3 now. The problem is with coffee shops is it doesn't really generate, a small coffee shop doesn't really generate enough sales for 2 businessmen with families to have a lifestyle that kind of supports what they want to do with their lifestyle. So off the back of that, I moved out of the business and sold it to my business partner, and he's still down there at the moment. And if you happen to be down on the harbour side near the Crep and Coffee Cabin, go in and speak to Raymond and say you've heard of Nigel, and you might even get your coffee for free.
Fantastic.
So so what I'm saying is the reason we got onto number 1 on TripAdvisor is because we didn't just sell coffee. In fact, the coffee was good, but it wasn't really about the coffee. It was about the experience people have when they come into the coffee shop. And when we, like with the photography, it wasn't so much about having mums who bring their kids in to have the photographs done. They don't expect you to be an amazing photographer. But what they do expect you to do is to give them and their children a good experience when they come in to have their photographs done, and to take a good picture. So you need to get the kids and the family sat in the middle, lit well, framed well, composed well. And if you could do that, but most importantly, give everyone a good experience, when they come up to the studio at the top, they're going to buy your pictures because they like you. And they're going to come back and buy your coffee because you've given them a good experience. So with all these things, it's not so much about what you're selling, it's about how you sell it. Don't try necessarily, you don't have to be the best. You just have to be good, but offer first-class customer service. And then people will buy and spend more with you than they would of anyone else because they like you.
And this is such a fantastic learning, I think, isn't it? Because we're told that we have to have the unique selling proposition to be the best, to outcompete the competitors. And what you're saying is all giving this amazing experience. You don't need to be the best. And providing this customer. And it's not what you sell so much, but how you provide this experience. This is really valuable.
It's about providing a good experience with the product. And then that's what people will come back and talk about you and tell other people that they've had a great experience, and the coffee's quite good too, and that's what it's about. And the photographs are good, but they keep coming back to get more pictures because they want that kind of epic photography experience. For example, I went to the dentist the other day. The dentist did my teeth, and she did a good job on my teeth. But I said to her, what would have made the dentist stand out from other dentists? Why? There was nothing. There was no resounding kind of unique selling point for the dentist. She just did a good job on my teeth. But wouldn't it be great if I'd been sat there and she kind of gave me a little mini lesson about dentistry whilst doing my teeth? So she got things and said, what we're doing now, we're doing this. And she would call the molar by the right name. I don't know anything about dentistry, but she said, what we're doing now, we're just exploring this. We're going under there. We're using this tool. It's a strange tool called this, and it's designed to do that. And you might feel this. And then by the end of I had a root canal surgery, and it was great. But wouldn't it have been great if I came out of my root canal surgery knowing about dentistry, a little bit, and it would put me at ease. But there was none of that. It was a good dentist experience, but it wasn't an experience. It was just getting my tooth done. But she could have turned it into an experience had she taught me about dentistry at the same time as doing my teeth. So it doesn't matter what you do, you can add an experience to it, whether it's dentistry. If you're out walking a dog, you can give a little bio of what your customer's dog's done that day, or even take a little video camera and film then and WhatsApp the video to the customer. So it doesn't really matter what you are selling or what service you're providing. Think less about the product and the service, but more about the experience, because it's the experience that people are subconsciously going to buy, not so much the product. There's lots of dog walkers out there, but it won't be very many dog walkers because they're allowing the customer to live stream the dog in the field at the time. And there aren't many dentists out there that are going to teach you about dentistry when having your teeth done. So that's a key point, really. Whatever it is you are trying to sell or set up, think more about the experience that you can provide, less about the product you are selling.
Fantastic. Nigel, I'm fascinated by the stream of these amazing creative ideas. Where are these coming from? So with all the coffee experience points and the trolls, and even now you're sharing the idea about the dentistry and the dog walking videos.
Yeah.
How do you come up with these ideas?
Well, I think it's just because more, maybe, I don't know. It's just the journey, how to make yourself better than your competitors. And it's not about having a better product, really. It's about providing a better service, because that's what we're buying, really, experiences and service.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And what about, tell us about your current business now then.
So, well, my current business is, so I landed in, we moved the fishing trawler thing on the harbour side, didn't work out. Yeah, didn't have a happy ending particularly. So we all moved just from the harbour side to a very normal house in Nailsea. And I'd sold my half of the business in the coffee shop to my business partner, Raymond. And I kind of just stood there and I scratched my head and what am I going to do? I'm in Nailsea. I just looked around me like, what am I going to do? Because, so I just thought, well, let's start a gardening business. There's lots of people out here that want to have their gardens done. So quite quickly, started a gardening business. Didn't know anything about gardening, but learned quickly and hired staff because quite quickly there's a lot more gardening than you can just do yourself. And gardening led to lots of other sort of services. So from just doing gardening, we provide a multitude of different home services. And that could be anything from gardening to cleaning, to pressure washing, to tree surgery, to landscaping. So quite quickly I realized that let's not sell my services, let's sell other people's services. So what I've now become is a sort of service seller, if you like. So I help small businesses or people who want to have their own business start their small business. And I do all the back end stuff, all the marketing, all the advertising, all the telephone answering, and all they have to go and do is run their business. And it works really well. We've got thousands of customers around Nailsea, Clevedon and Portishead. Having, over the years, different services, and in the most part, everyone's happy. But it's one thing I have struggled with. It is hard to be creative with this sort of thing. It's, let's say you're doing waste clearance. It's like a bit difficult to try and find a way to be creative with throwing their rubbish in the back of the transit van. But and as I look to the future, I want to sort of try and find something where I can be more creative, because that's the thing I loved about the photography business. Is the thing I loved about the coffee shop was the ability to really bring some creativity into it. Whereas what I do now isn't so creative. It's a lot of answering the phone. So my wife answered the phone. We've got a call handler, a telesales lady, and then a bunch of people going out running their small businesses. Does that help at all? I don't know.
So you mentioned, thank you very much for sharing that, Nigel. It's really interesting. So you mentioned the idea of telesales, and it's about selling. How do you feel? I realize that sales for a lot of business owners and customers is still seen as that necessary evil, or that sales is a dirty word. Or I've heard so many times entrepreneurs say something like, "Oh, I love my business, every part of it, apart from selling."
Yeah.
Well, if you're in a business, then you're in the business of sales, right?
Yeah.
So is there any mindset lesson that you can share that helps you to be comfortable in selling, or be comfortable, with higher prices perhaps?
Yeah, higher prices. I think the pricing thing is so important. You need to be reassuringly expensive. People don't want to buy a cheap cup of coffee. Nobody wants to go and buy a cheap photo, because it just sort of devalues it. It's sort of like they want to spend what is a reasonable sum of money on their coffee or their photographs or their gardening, because they feel as if they're getting value for money, as long as you're putting the value into the service. So don't, I see this from tradespeople quite a lot. They say, well, I just try and be the cheapest. If you're going to be the cheapest, you're just going to be a busy fool. And so how do I know if I'm pricing right? Well, someone once said to me, there's a sort of magic point, and it's seven. I've talked a bit, but the best way of saying it is that don't try and close all your deals. You want to be closing only 70% of your quotes. And you want to have a full diary. If you're closing 100% of your quotes, then you're going to be too cheap. You know, nobody's. So you want people to say, no, you're a bit too expensive. Every time someone says to me, I'm a bit too expensive, that's great because I know I'm on the sweet spot. Yeah, but if I'm closing less than 70%, then I'm probably a bit too expensive. So you mustn't look at this. You mustn't make a knee-jerk reaction on one person's response. So let's say I've made this mistake in the past. I once put, when we were doing the gardening, or I was doing the gardening, I put the prices up from £20 an hour to £25 an hour. Now, I know £25 an hour is arguably the most expensive gardener in Nailsy, Clevedon, and Portishead. And I was quite nervous. And I put it up, and the first customer said to me, no, it's way too expensive, don't worry. So I dropped the price back down to £20 an hour and sat there for about another year. Consequently, I must have lost probably £2,000-3,000 because I made a knee-jerk reaction to one customer's response. And then I realized from talking to other people, you must look at the wider, broader picture. You must pitch at the higher price to maybe for a whole month. And at the end of the month, you'll know if £25 an hour for gardening is too expensive based upon how many people are closing and how many people are saying no. And then you look at that and you say, well, I've done 50 quotes this month. I've closed 70%. I've got a reasonably full diary. Then you know you're in the right place. But to make a knee-jerk reaction, the mistake that I made on the first quote was the wrong solution. It's like before, I think it's this statistical variation. You know, you might pull out 3 black balls before you get a red, like on a roulette wheel. And you might be thinking, there's just black balls, I'm too expensive, just black balls. The red balls have come, they're still there. You've got to get them out. You know, you've got to keep pulling them out before you get the yeses. And you have to go for a few no's. And at the end of the month, the maths will tell you whether you're too expensive or not. So that's how I've set my prices up. And I always look at what other people are pricing and make sure I'm more expensive, because I want to be reassuringly expensive and I want to have a full diary. And also, because my the small business owners that sign up with me, they pay me a commission. You know, it's got to be worth it for them, worth it for me, and good for the customer. So, yeah, it's all about how do you know? You just need to look at the maths. Look at the maths and put out as many quotes as you can in a month, and then wait to the end of the month before you make a decision, not based on the first quote.
This is really valuable lesson, I think, and very, very valuable advice. So you have to look at the maths, know your numbers, and then just be patient and wait for those. For the month to pass and for those red balls to appear, not just black balls. This is really interesting, Nigel. And I am listening to your story about all these businesses, how you started them and then moved on to the next one. There are a few times you mentioned in between businesses how you felt stuck and you didn't know what to do. And each time I'm listening to this thinking, wow, it took a lot of bravery to just go in and buy a burger burger van, or to just start a gardening business without, you know, knowing a lot about it. So what's the approach? How do you overcome the fear, and how do you become brave?
Yeah. Oh, it's a difficult question because that's something I'm quite good at. Let me tell you a little story, right? I didn't know anything about wallpapering, right? Nothing. But I started a wallpapering business. And the first job I did, I really messed it up so badly. The customer was so upset, I had to go back and take all the wallpaper off and refund all their money, right? And I learned, the second job I did, and I'm not making this up, I did another bad job on the wallpapering, right? But I was better than the first job. But I still had to go back and refund their money. Okay, I know. But third job, I got really good at wallpapering. Right now, if you need any wallpapering done, I'm the guy you want to call because I'm a really good wallpaper because I learned by my mistakes. And the problem is with myself is that I don't know if it's a problem or what, but I don't mind making mistakes, so long as I'm not making a mistake with doing someone's teeth, or so long as it's something that I can fix. Then I don't mind making mistakes because mistakes is really the way you're going to learn. So some people think I have a friend who has been a police dog handler for years and he's stuck in it. And he says to me, he just does it because of the pension. And for a while he wanted to start, he said, I want to get out of this. I want to start an estate agency. And he researched and he researched and he researched. And every time I saw him, have you started your estate agency yet? He said, no, I'm still researching. And he had big folders and files. And you know what? He never started his estate agency because he was, I think it's because he was afraid of failure, But failure is okay. It's okay to fail. It's a really good thing to fail, you know? Like the wallpapering. I mean, I look like such a prat, right? I'd go back and take all off the walls and give them their money back. I was like, oh no. Yeah, and then to make the same mistake again, but not quite so bad. And then I got good at wallpapering. So don't worry about making it perfect. Perfect isn't what people want. People want good. But more importantly, they want someone to smile at them and make them feel as if they're getting a good service. Okay? So you haven't got to be perfect. You haven't got to be brilliant. You just need to be good. Yeah, and just start it. Put the advert in the paper. Another little short story. I started a cooking business at people's houses. Yeah, and I didn't know, and I still don't know anything about cooking, particularly when I can cook. So I thought there'd be a market for home chefs, private chefs. And sure enough, people started to call. And I didn't have I wasn't going to go and cook, but I didn't even have a chef. Okay, but then I phoned my friend up, Andreas, who's still working for me now. And she said, Andreas, you know how to cook, don't you? And he's a good chef. And he says, yeah. No. I said, I've got some customers for you. You need to go around and phone these people up and do some cooking for them. He says, that's fine. Yes, so great. So don't worry too much about having all the systems in place. Just put the advert in the paper or start the website and then wait for the phone to call. When the phone starts ringing, then you need to start sorting everything out. That's the way I tend to do it, but I start small businesses. I'm not starting anything too big. So it works well for me. So I just do the marketing first, wait for the phone to ring, and then sort the problems out. And so my advice is just don't worry too much, just put the advert out, let the phone ring, and then sort everything out. And you're going to make some mistakes and you're going to fall flat on your face a couple of times, but just get up. Think of it as it's a journey. Yeah. And it sounds like a little bit cliche, but you don't want to get to the destination. With business, there is no destination. You never really earn. As soon as you've earned £1 million, you're going to want to earn £2 million. Yeah. So you don't have a destination, but you've got to try and enjoy the journey and all the small successes. So when you earn £3,000 a month, you've got to sit there and give yourself a little slap on the back and a little bit of a celebration and go, wow, I've done it. It's great. I've got £3,000 a month. It's brilliant. And then, enjoy those small successes. And then get to the £6,000 a month mark, or add another £1,000 to the 3,000, and enjoy the journey, because there is no destination. If you're always trying to get to a destination, you're always going to be disappointed. And this is what's really good for mental health. Enjoy the small successes. So as I said before we started, I was really excited because I had the best, just with the man with the van, we did £5,000. Yeah, which is a success. A success. I'm really pleased with myself, especially as we're just going into December. In a week, that is, so it really praise yourself for every new client, every small success, because it's so much the journey and not the destination. There is no destination when you're in business for yourself, because there's always somebody that earns more than you, and there's always more that you can earn for yourself. So don't worry about the destination, enjoy the journey.
This is so inspiring and so motivational. I really enjoyed it. Thank you so much, Nigel. No thank you for sharing all these nice tips and lessons learned and your business journey. It's fascinating how amount of things that you went through and different businesses you've tried. Thank you so much for sharing this with us today.
That's good.
Yeah.